I actually got fired for being a furry. So believe it or not, I actually get paid to dress up as an animal. And I'm not talking about my subscription page where you can watch me, shake my Gatorade. If you're weird like me and you want to take any opportunity to dress up as an animal, there are companies that will literally pay you to dress up in their suits and perform. It's a really fun job, but like there's sacrifices. Like sometimes you'll have to work like a weekend or wake up at 9 a.m. Sometimes the costumes you have to wear are really buff and it gets really hot and sweaty underneath. So it's like a really hard occupation, y'all. Getting a mascot job's actually kind of hard because there's a lot of competition. Not only do you have to deal with like a lot of furries and closet furries who apply for these jobs, but you have to deal with like the general pool of high school mascots and anyone else who's been the Easter Bunny or Chuck E. Cheese. Like if you want paid mascot work, you have to kind of hustle and get anything that can pad your resume that's like costume performing. Like you gotta wave signs, you gotta do birthday parties. Like you might have to answer some strange Craigslist ad, and then with enough experience you can get your big break. Which brings me to my story. The year was 2024. And I see this really proper job posting for a car company's official mascot. Like they're gonna launch this thing nationwide, they have huge plans, so I'm like, this is my big break. So I send in my resume and then the interview process starts. I do a half-an-hour interview, like I'm high energy, I absolutely nail it, don't hear anything back. Like 3 weeks later, they invite me for an in-person trial. This is like the first red flag, right? They don't have an office, it's like a warehouse that they like rented for the day. And it's like on the outskirts of town. I should be smart enough to know that maybe this isn't the people from the big company I think I'm gonna work for. So I go to this warehouse, which is also a co-working space, go to one of the offices, have like a 5-minute interview, and then they take my measurements and I leave. And a few days after, they follow up and tell me, yeah, you got the job, and I'm like, yay. Now at this point, I'm excited, but I have no idea what I'm going to be or what this is for. But immediately in my first day, I get the rug pulled from under me. They sit me down and explain the whole project. So it turns out it's not odors, it's one dealership. So I think to myself, okay, this isn't great, but it's a job, whatever. I didn't know what the mascot was gonna look like, and that's just kind of a risk you have to take when doing this kind of work. Sometimes you want to be furry, but you have to play a human. Now, unbeknownst to me, these suits are hideous. Like, they look like if the Teletubbies and all the cryptids had a baby. And this marketing team seemed really proud of their suits, but like, they looked kind of cheap. They didn't give the vibe that they would help sell cars, but I'm like, okay, whatever, it's a paying position, okay, yeah, sure. And the heads are ridiculously heavy. And this team also seems to make like strange decisions about the presentation of their mascots. Like, these suits are supposed to be creatures, like not a specific species, but yeah, more like a Teletubby thing. And the costume company provided them with all of the inner padding to give the character shape. So when I tried on the suit, I said, okay, this is a cool costume, but with all of the padding and the really heavy head, it's gonna be hard for us to wear this for a long time. And I think they had this idea that like anyone who's a performer can just like stay out in suit all the time and like not have to take breaks. You schedule someone for like 3 hours and they're going to perform every single minute of those 3 hours, which just does not happen in practice. Even at places like Disney, even mascots for sports teams take breaks. Even the best, most athletic ones do. And this company didn't seem to care. Upon hearing that the padding was like an overheating thing, they just were like, all right, let's ditch the padding. And what it made the characters look like is if I tried to put on a suit for someone who's like 7'5", it was just like baggy. The presentation was just not very cute, okay? But they're promising good pay, so I'm like, okay, whatever, like, let me just do this. And the first gig, okay, they do have partnerships in the community, I'll give them that, is like at this country music festival, and I get in the suit and walk around and literally nobody wants to see me. There's just like drunk redneck type people just like flipping me off. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be an interesting experience. And I think part of it is just because like the suits are a little ugly. I think the #1 rule of creating a mascot character to help drive business is the characters have to be appealing. Like people have to want to come up and say hi to the characters, but if your suit looks like this deflated monster, it's more like nightmare feel than business feel. So I do this gig, get paid like a pretty good rate, right? Then I'm like, all right, okay, I can hack it, even though people don't like the character, even though, okay, I try and do things in suit, and like everything I try, they're like, no, don't do this, we have to protect the brand. And I'm like, okay, so you want me to be like a complete statue and just pose for photos and not like be mischievous like you told me to do before? So it's after this gig that pretty much everything goes south. I know after this big reveal where nobody liked the mascot, my next listed appearances are early morning car dealership appearances far away from where I live for half the pay. Okay, sure, yeah, minimum wage, sure, sign me up. It's performing experience, I can still put it on my resume. I go to the dealership, do the suit, and once again, like, nobody knows who the character is. Nobody really wants to interact because I look hideous, okay? I look like some monstrosity you would see out of a horror movie. And what's really weird about this job is there's this whole degree of like stringing the dealership along. Like, I peep on their social media and they have all of these fake followers, like bots for this character account. And they have engagement comments, but they're clearly bots, like, you know, profile picture, no description, no posts, and wow, heart. They are stringing this dealership along. I don't know how much they're charging this car place to do marketing for them, but it's all like AstroTurf, right? Also, I missed a really crucial detail. This marketing company is really small, and the company's owner, like, loves me, and my direct boss does not. And the owners of this company are very Southern, and not the kind type, the sorts of ones that would be very angry if they knew someone liked fruit, if you catch my drift. So one day, my boss and the company owner are there, and the company owner, trying to pump up the numbers, says, "Hey, Nas, why didn't you follow the mascot's account?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And obviously I didn't follow it on this account because that would not be a good idea. But I did follow it on my old Instagram, which I haven't used for like 6 years. Unbeknownst to me, my profile picture on there was of a fursuit. So I've never felt the energy of someone change so quickly. This company boss that like absolutely loved me, I could just see like the smile disappear from his face as he like looked at my account, and then I saw what my picture was and I went, oh, okay. And then from that point onwards, they started cutting my hours, they hired more people, and then they started sending me gigs that I don't even think existed, like, oh, we have a promotional appearance in a town that's 3 hours away. It's gonna be for 1 hour, so... And throughout this job, it felt like I progressively got more and more pay cuts, as the dealership probably worked out with each week how ineffective this whole like mascot program was. And I think I get like 1 or 2 more appearances, and they are so awkward because like obviously they'll like talk to me while I'm in costume as the character, but then when I'm out it's like dead silence. It's like a hi and then it's just like I can't even do the face good, but like if somebody stubbed your toe on the bus and then just didn't say sorry, like that, they had that expression permanently, just, "You disgust me." So they never like officially fired me, but they gave me the whole like Japanese worker they want to fire treatment, which is either not giving me work or giving me work that is so dishonorable and impractical, the faraway appearances that made no sense. And I don't know why they didn't just fire me, because we're in an at-will state. I think they just wanted to avoid that conversation altogether, but they would still sit in a room with me being extremely uncomfortable instead. So I kind of wish they just fired me, but eventually I just handed in my resignation because all in all I would call this a cautionary tale. Like, obviously there are a lot of people in the world that are cool with furries. Like, our fandom's grown so much, we have a lot of mainstream acceptance, but there are just people who are, dare I say, prejudiced, or at least have prejudgment of people who participate in the fandom. So if you're trying to, you know, work for Disney or work as an animator for like a big studio or like be a mascot or anything that's like a job that furries would want, anything that involves the joy of anthers, I would just say that unless you're like a squeaky clean fur and you think you can play it off, I would try and not volunteer that you're a furry if that means it helps your opportunity, because look, end of the day, you gotta get that back. If stereotypes and perceptions of furry are gonna be something that holds you back, then maybe don't mention it if you don't need to. I will say I have had mascot jobs where they know about this stuff, so like, obviously there are exceptions. Just use your discretion. You don't have to share with the world and tell everyone about what is your hobby. And sometimes past, since I didn't get that job, but like, obviously I was bummed after, not just because I didn't have a performing opportunity anymore, but also just because it didn't turn out the way I hoped it to be. And this just happens with like fun gigs sometimes. Like, you get promised the world and you think, oh, this is gonna be like, you know, a big break and a big change for me. And sometimes you have to kind of vibe out whether that is actually the case. The other big moral is just check your socials. Just make sure that if you are trying to not advertise to the world that you have some extracurriculars, maybe don't make it your profile picture, because I can tell you right now, if my profile picture was not of a fursuit, I would still be in that dealership with a 30-pound head, having no one approach me for $13 an hour. So I lost out on a really big dream, y'all.